Welcome to another episode of Tales from the Tables with your host, Rob Bradley,
John Charles Ceccarelli,
and Damien Hallwood.
Hey nerds, how's it going?
What up?
Hey!
So, wow, episode 20.
My God, we made it!
Yeah,
2-0.
Milestone.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, well, apparently, if you get to 20 episodes in a podcast, it means if you've got listeners and it carries on, then you're doing all right.
All right.
I think we're averaging around about between 40 and 50.
Nice.
Pretty good. Yeah, nice.
Yeah,
Hello, listeners.
Yeah,
Hi.
Yeah, welcome. Thank you for all your continued support. Please tell your friends.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Absolutely. We were just saying actually before we hit record, we keep doing this thing. Every time we come on, we end up having a conversation before we press record, and it's like really good. And then we're like,
Yep.
oh no, quick,
It's all
stop,
useful content.
stop. We just save it for the podcast, and then we start recording, which is quite funny. But no, how you guys both doing? You well?
Yeah, good. Yeah,
Yeah?
I was saying before, it's a good time to be a nerd.
It
It
is.
really is.
These are the glory days.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Nerding out at the moment, aren't we?
Yeah.
Is great. Yeah. How's everything in America, JC? All good?
Yeah, everything's good here. Cold, getting colder,
Cold,
but
yeah.
honestly, doing pretty good.
What's
Missing the UK already.
Oh yeah, right. What sort of temperatures do you drop down to in New York?
Not too bad where I am actually right now. And honestly, in the recent years and like the past decade with global warming and everything, and it is a veritable difference. Like at this time, maybe 15 years ago, it would have been snowing. Now we really, if we're lucky, if we get a decent snowfall out in the city / Long Island in December, and we normally see that more in January and February. So
That's the same for me. I keep saying that the seasons are like moving forward a month or so at a time. Exactly the same. When I was a kid, it was snow at this time of year, and we had some pretty heavy ones. And now, again, we don't see heavy snowfall here. We had a little bit recently, actually, to contradict that, but generally it's more February, March time that we end up seeing proper snow.
Wow, even up to March. Yeah, I honestly, I've said it was kind of cold, but that's just really today and yesterday. But the day before that, we had a massive rainstorm out where I live and in the city. And I think it went on for like well over a day and a half, and there was flooding. I had to drive back home at 4 o'clock in the morning through these huge puddles and stuff. But it was like 55. Oh, sorry. I know that's Fahrenheit. Most of our listeners are UK. You can do the conversion at home. But it was very warm. I think the equivalent is probably like, I want to say like 22. That might be too much. I'm not sure.
Was it 50, 55?
Like 55. That's basically like late spring weather.
Wow.
And what does our person at the keyboard say, at the computer say?
Because I can't spell Celsius, I've spelled it's got the same 55 Fahrenheit to Venus for some reason.
That sounds like a sci-fi pulp novel.
Yeah.
I mean, it does, right?
So it was 50. It was 55. Was
55 Fahrenheit. Yeah, what is that?
13 degrees Celsius. So
30. Yeah, I way overestimated, but that's still
really pleasant.
But that's still that's like nice weather.
English summer.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, gonna be shorts on, head down to the beach. 13 degrees. Get that
and I was like, oh, come on, we're in December already. Everyone's put up the Christmas stuff already. I'm like, where's the snow? I miss it. And then again, when it comes, I hate it, and I'm like, oh, now I have to shovel. Screw this. So
I'm still stuck on 55 Fahrenheit to Venus. I want to read that book.
That does sound like a good sci-fi novel. It sounds very dystopian. It sounds. I kind of like. I get Expanse vibes from it. I don't know about you.
A very placid, very mild Venus.
Yeah,
it's a really good week to like dystopian. Let me say that much. It's a really good week to like dystopian.
Why is that? Is that a teaser for the news segment?
It is a teaser for the news. Also, for you Fallout fans, we got a trailer for the Fallout TV series.
Oh yeah,
which looks great.
Yeah.
Can't comment, but it looks like they're getting the vibe right.
Nice.
So,
I missed I missed the wave with Fallout. I was a huge Elder Scrolls fan starting. Obviously,
Yeah.
we've talked about that plenty. But I kind of missed when 4 came out because I was in college at the time and I just hadn't had the time. Or sorry, 3, Fallout 3. And then Fallout New Vegas came out and everybody was gung ho about it and everything else. And then by the time 4 came out, I got it. It just didn't rope me in because I think it was relying a little bit on nostalgia for Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas that I didn't have. So I kind of just missed the wave, and then 76 happened. And I was like, "Woof! I'm glad I didn't buy that." Ooh.
The tabletop conversion, that it's the Modiphius 2D20 system that they have for Fallout, and it's a perfect system. Like they must have known because it translates almost one for one in terms of like what you would expect the game to be like if it converted from a video game to a
that's cool
to an RPG. Your stats are spell out the word special in the game, and they do exactly the same thing in the RPG. It's a perfect recreation. I've run it once or twice already, and it's especially really cool if you get that kind of pulpy, half comedy, half really dark science fiction flavor that Fallout sits right in. It's a lot of fun.
Nice.
I suppose it's atomic punk, isn't it? Fallout.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah,
atomic punk.
How like the 1950s envisioned their future.
Yes. The Coca-Cola caps
like
being sort of like the currency, that kind of thing. It's
it's nuclear powered cars and robots.
That's right.
And
that's right. Have you guys seen Atom City yet? Is it Atom City?
What is that?
I haven't seen that.
Film by what's his chops? I
know who you mean.
Yeah, the really is a really visual director. He did I can't think of any films he's done. The Life Aquatic, he did that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he did The Life Aquatic, which is really good. The Royal Tenenbaums, he did that as well.
I don't suppose you're talking about Jerry Hopper? No.
Nope. No. Royal Tenenbaums. Sorry, listeners. You're probably all like shouting the name at me right now.
We can always edit this out. You know that, right? I know you never will. But...
Yeah, no,
Wes Anderson.
Wes Anderson. There you go.
I see.
Wes Anderson.
It's not Atom City, is it? It's Atomic City.
I can't. I know what you're talking about.
Of course, I saw the trailers for this. Where it basically is filmed on one of those like nuclear test sites or those like fake towns. Yeah. Okay. I had seen the trailer
really
briefly.
Visual, great color in it, and that kind of stuff. Yeah, he's just really, really good director. But
of course, his very like comedic framing and his like of course.
That kind of thing.
I saw the Grand Budapest Hotel.
That's right, the Grand Budapest Hotel. Yeah. Really, really great film. Yeah, I love Ralph Fiennes in it. Is fantastic.
Yeah, he's incredible, man.
In the concierge.
Yeah,
really, really good. That's a great character for D&D, actually, isn't it? That kind of character. Him in the relationship he has with the bellboy.
We could do that for the next Rolldark Fest.
Yeah, definitely.
A Grand Budapest Hotel style murder mystery crawl.
That would be really, really cool.
Yeah.
Really colourful outfits and expressive facial hair and hairdos and glasses and very, very over the top, kind of almost cartoony look.
I've been trying my hardest to get, because there's a couple of caves in the south of England, and there's a few in the north as well. But I'm not too familiar with the north ones. I think Mother Shipton's cave is in Yorkshire, isn't it? Yeah, but I'm not too sure if you can hire it out. Because it'd be good if you could hire it out and then have
how sick would that be
in a cave?
D&D in a cave.
Yeah,
take that D&D in a castle.
Yeah, exactly.
It would be amazing. Claustrophobics need not apply.
Right.
It would be amazing.
Or the catacombs in Edinburgh, or maybe that'd be pretty cool. Or have you seen them?
I did the ones in Paris, man. And you want to talk about claustrophobia? That thing should come with more warnings than it does, because if you do the traditional catacombs Parisian tour, you have to go down a single spiral staircase that goes like 100 feet underground. And that alone, that's the first thing you do, and that alone it's kind of terrifying. And then all the tunnels are, I don't think, much taller than about 6 feet. So for the majority of it, I'm kind of ducking. And just to make sure I'm not scraping my head on a stone ceiling. It's lovely. It's really cool, and the history is fascinating. But yeah, it's really claustrophobic down there. But can I give you guys a real claustrophobia mini story? So I did an escape room party years ago at this point. It was probably like 8 or 9 years ago. And it was very, very well done. You know, escape rooms, how you have to kind of work together to figure out the clues. This one was kind of asylum themed, horror themed. They had great visual effects. This was over in the city or in Long Island City. And it was, they had a team separate into 2 different teams, and we were locked in jail cells, and we had to kind of work together to build something and find out the clues that finally enabled us to grab the keys, let us escape, move on to the next area. And they had actors working as well. They had a person kind of like locked behind a door screaming for help to get out, and then you hear them scream and the window that shows you inside is blocked by fog, and then when it clears and the door opens, they have this roasted skeleton looking thing as if they turned on the incinerator in the room, right?
Nice.
And it was really badass, and everyone had found their strong suit for the escape room sort of challenge, right? We had one person who was really good at math, and they ended up, you know, saving our bacon at one point, and one person who was really good at spotting things, and one person who was really good at wordplay. And I was sitting there being like, I don't know what I'm good at. I feel so not prepared for this. Everybody's shining. And then we got to the last room where your objective was basically the asylum director was on the loose. He was crazy, and your only salvation was a gun, a Nerf gun, of course, or I think a fake cap gun at the end of a small crawl space. And it was, I'm talking maybe a 1.5 feet tall by about 3 feet wide. It was minuscule, especially
in Aliens.
And I'm probably the biggest person in our party trying to get through this escape room, and I'm like, I just had a nightmare about this. I just had a nightmare where I was trapped under rubble, crawling, trying to escape a cave and trying to get out. But we have to do it, and we have to do it within the time limit. I guess I'm the one. And I got down, and I was like, oh, this is horrible. And I reached for the gun, pulled it out in time, and shot the asylum director before he killed us. And it was really cool. But I think I still have nightmares about going through that crawl space right after having seen a burnt corpse on a table. So,
oh God,
yeah.
Christ.
So there's a D&D campaign right there, I guess.
Do you feel it was really immersive? Did it feel
that
like
particular one, yeah. And I've done escape rooms since, and I think really that one stands out because I haven't had anything cooler than that experience ever. It was the actors and the special effects really helped, rather than them just throwing you into a room with, you know, codes behind little panels on the walls and stuff.
Yeah, sure.
So, yeah, step up your game, escape rooms. Now you know.
I've never done one.
I know Alex Maud in our Rolldark group, he's a big fan of them. He like is a true committed escape room kind of connoisseur in a way. So feel free to
Brilliant.
pick his brain about what's
I bet the people that run the escape rooms love him.
Yeah.
Oh like, God, not this guy again.
Compared to the last 14 escape rooms I've been in, give it a 7.
Yeah. Just be like, all right, mate.
yeah.
I've done a couple.
Brilliant.
Nothing. It sounds as overly sort of high budget as that in comparison to what
produced.
I did. The one thing I did do that was similar, that was a bit higher on the sort of fear scale and pain scale subsequently, was for my stag do, we did an escape room as part of that, but then on top of that, to extend it was a zombie themed one, and to extend that beyond the zombie theme in the escape room, we went to a kind of abandoned warehouse where we did a live zombie airsoft experience.
Ooh.
So cool.
We had airsoft guns, and there were actors playing the undead running around.
Love that.
Brilliant.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. And it was in an old abandoned factory, so it was really like dingy and dark, and
sick.
No special effects needed. And when I tell you that the people who were playing the Walking Dead were throwing themselves at it, my goodness, they would throw themselves at you. They would tackle you to the ground. They would, and they were generally the fast type too. The sort of
no, they're not the George Romero zombies.
Exactly.
They're the 28 Days Later zombies.
Oh, I hate those guys. They're the worst. At least in The Walking Dead, you can there's a zombie. Quick, maybe we should just go over here.
Maybe we should walk backwards semi-fast.
I'll just climb up this tree and take my time, and maybe I'll have my sandwiches halfway up.
Right. We returned to our hotel room, looking covered in oil and fake blood and
Oh, great.
soaking
That is
wet,
cool.
and we were wrecked after
Yeah,
it, but
that sounds like
was
a lot of fun.
it was very cool.
Yeah.
All right, I have to share this one then. Similar sort of thing, and I promise I won't make it too long. But basically, a friend of mine did a show, like a theater experience. But he rented out this old fishing boat as a performance space in one of the piers on the west side of Manhattan. And it was this rickety, very almost like rusted out old fishing boat from God knows when, probably like the 60s. And the show became a sort of zombie survival show. As it started, it was more of a drama between like a family that was trying to, I don't really remember the storyline too much, so apologies to the director and the writers and creators if you're hearing this. But this was years ago also. But the really novel thing was, when you walked in, because so many actors were just showing up to support their actor friends, if you wanted to sort of play along, and you weren't told this beforehand, but if you wanted to play along, they'd give you a special colored bracelet that could identify you to the other actual actors of the show.
Great. That's
and
cool.
So, for instance, like I walked in and they were like, "Hi, welcome. Here's your ticket. Thanks. Would you be interested in playing with us today?" I'm like, what does that mean? Like, well, it would be a little bit of participation in the show. And I was like, oh, sure, okay. And they gave me a yellow bracelet. And as I'm walking through like the exhibit, kind of looking through the family story, I'm like, oh, wow, this is really cool stuff. And then a person comes up to me and they're like, are you enjoying it? And I was like, yeah, I'm having a great time. This is really, really cool. Can't wait for the show to start proper. And then, a couple of tourists walk away, and then we were alone. And this person came up to me and was like, Henry, you really should stop pretending like our love isn't real. And I was like, and she like put her hands on my chest. I'm like, you're right. I don't know why. Yeah, just like taken aback. And so as a result, you kind of had to like improv and get along with the experience. And that was all one part of it. And then the second part devolved slowly into, the zombie outbreak. And now it was a fully immersive kind of fight for your life, survive, get out of the ship and find your way back up to safety sort of experience while the horde is shambling around. And I remember very clearly watching that, my lover, my paramour, getting swallowed up by the horde. She was like, no, just go. And I was like, no, I can't leave you. And at this point I was emotionally invested. And I was like, no, don't. And she was like, go, Henry. As she was being swallowed up. And then I hid in a bathroom away from the horde, and I was like listening to them shamble by, and I was hiding in the stall going like, because I had just run to hide in there. And then I hear next to me, JC, is that you? And I was like, Kevin? Because I had gone with my friend and we were both in the bathroom hiding. It was really cool stuff.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
I really like that idea about the bracelets. That's a really clever idea. We could probably do that.
Oh, you're thinking about it, Rob.
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
cool.
at the moment, it's like where we kind of are with it is we've like the most we've done is what we just did, which was 70 people in total. So, I mean, it depends really.
Number.
Yeah, it's a good number. I think if we could somehow be like, okay, do you want to be involved in the cut scenes? If you do, here's a blue wristband. Put that on, and one of the actors will have you improvise a situation with them to get you involved. It's a really, really good idea.
Yeah.
But then of course it depends on whether or not the people that come to Rolldark Fest actually want to be involved in the theatre side of things.
That's also true, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think we should if we're that would be good. But if we're kind of exploring that idea, I think it would be we'd have to find a way to say like it can continue without them. We can have we don't have to rely on them necessarily, and they just add bonus stuff to it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, in case. But also, it's a great way we could do some work beforehand too, and like weave them into the story a little bit so they know what NPC they're playing or something. It doesn't have to be all improv,
Yeah, maybe exactly.
Maybe as simple as just handing, as well as the bracelet, handing a little expectations card.
That's a good idea.
A little card that says, exactly what you said about, it can continue without you. This is what to expect, just so that they're not completely bamboozled.
Could be a cool idea. But we already have a lot going on with the black. What is it, Rob? The Black Tower of Death, or
I've forgotten.
The
Tower of something destinies. Yeah.
Yeah,
The Tower of Devastating Destiny.
That's it. There it is.
There you go. Well, thanks for catching me off guard there. Yeah. No, I think because my partner Charlotte, she used to do murder mystery weekends as an actor. She used to act, and what they used to do is you'd have like a group of I don't know, 12 people come for dinner, and you'd be like, okay, you're going to play this character. These are your lines, and it would literally just be like a segment of line that they have to say, and that's it. But but one of them would have murdered the other or something, and they would have had to try and figure that out.
Yeah.
So I suppose in a way, if they just get given, like you say, just a card that says, okay, at this point, you say this line, or a variation of it, or whatever you want to do based on this line. And hope to God we don't give it to somebody who's completely crazy that just like goes, ha ha, just does something completely unexpected.
Yeah, I'd rather the shyer person that forgot their line than the person that's like way too into it and kind of takes over. Yeah.
It derails the whole story. And I'm just going to kill everyone. He's giving it to like a murder hobo player. You're like, no, oh no.
Oh God.
You can't do that. No, you can't do that. Stop, cut.
God. Speaking of murder hoboing, I had to deal with my fair share of that last week.
Oh God, really?
Oh yeah. More shenanigans from people who are like, oh, consequences in the world? What are those? We don't need those. And then,
for goodness sakes.
Yeah, cut to 10 sessions later where they're still dealing with the fallout and the flash or the lashback from all of that.
I make it so boring for them when they do it. This is my tactic. I do it every time. I make it. I put them all in jail, and then they have a lawyer that comes to see them, and the lawyer's like, okay, you're gonna have a trial, and they go to trial, and it's really boring. And I'm like, right. So this is what's happening. We're now doing a courtroom drama. So the story's over here. Because of you guys murdering somebody, we're now in this situation.
Yep.
All right?
That sounds about right.
What would you like to do? Would you want to carry on with the courtroom drama, or would you rather have the adventure? We're like, let's have the adventure. So okay, let's rewind. Rewind.
I played with consequences in my home game just the other weekend.
What happened?
So they've been doing a continuation of Tomb of Annihilation. I've said it a few times. They both hated and loved the Tomb of Annihilation, and so I have given them my own creation, a new tomb for them to work their way through. And the final challenge that they faced was a room with a circular table with enough chairs for each of them and a green flame floating in the middle of it. And the walls around it depicted their exploits, ending in a group of individuals sat at a round table with their heads wreathed in fire, green flame with skulls screaming into the sky. And they've been collecting keys from each of these challenges, so they knew they had to do it. They sat down at the table, decided who would be at the head of the table, which really only mechanically ended up deciding who went first. And a skull within the flame asked them to say who they trusted least out of the group. They also found out that they were in a zone of truth.
Nice.
So they had to answer truthfully. And when they did, the person who they trusted least then had to face their fear depicted within the flame, their greatest fear, which again, they couldn't lie about, and then make charisma saving throws to avoid succumbing to the fear.
That sounds sick.
The trick was that because they had to tell the truth, it meant that oftentimes somebody had to go more than once, and the DC for the save got higher each time.
Evil bastard.
When they failed, their head exploded into green flame, and they effectively became a weaker version of a flame skull with their kind of laser beam ability that they have.
Yeah.
Which would then damage people across the table from them. And this went round and around until each of them had kind of, I think all of them failed by the end, including an NPC that they had with them. And the only one at the table that they didn't include was an earth elemental myrmidon that one of them had summoned to help them, which ended up taking the brunt of all 7 other people around the table's eye beams and just got devastated, which they were both devastated by, but thankful for, because it could have been one of them.
Yeah.
And at the end of it, after they all kind of came back to life with a bit of damage and some serious trust issues. And at the end of it, the skull said to them, if you have not strengthened after a party, if your party has not strengthened their resolve after this experience, you don't deserve to have the power that you carry.
Oh man!
Wow, that's sick. Nice, very
and
cool.
They were like sweaty palms, wrecked by it. They were absolutely wrecked by it, but they loved it. They really loved it.
So cool.
Yes, brilliant.
So
what
cool.
a great idea. I'm stealing that.
My God. All right. Well, Tales from the Table
that.
segments, I guess. That reminds me of something I did in my home game this past week, not the Murder Hobo one. My party was aboard a casino ship, right? And they're basically looking for a kind of suspicious individual that they're trying to get a letter from because they think the letter has some incriminating evidence on it. But they're told that he only plays the most high stakes table at the casino. So the kind of brash party member and the one that's in disguise with them kind of go to that table, and we have a very Casino Royale-esque sort of tension gamble at the table. But the game that I made up was purely based on the map that I was using for the casino. It showed this sort of roulette table, but with 6 dragon heads. And I said, let's get lethal. Let's get scary with this. So it's called, the ship advertises it as Golden Hydra, this high stakes, high buy-in sort of game where winner takes all. But it's actually more infamously known throughout the realms as Red Dragon Roulette, which is highly illegal. And here is why. Because as you spin, or as the dealer sort of spins, he feeds a magical token to one of the heads. And you put it in your buy-in. It's all in the center of the table. All the gold is around the 6 heads, and the wheel spins and spins, and you have to kind of keep track. And I have the players roll perception checks, and the NPCs that are the other players at the table roll perception checks to see if they can keep track of which head. And there's a certain DC that they have to beat, and as the game goes on and gets higher. But when it comes to a stop, everyone then goes around kind of like Texas Hold'em poker. You either bet, call, or fold, or raise, etc. And then when it finally gets to the end, the dealer pulls another lever, and one of the heads, the one that has the magical token, animates and breathes a disintegrate ray into the space of the player. Or one of the players. Whoever bet that it was that head wins the money. If there's multiple bets for the same head, they split the pot. If nobody betted the right head, the house takes the pot and we move into the next round. But it's a process of literal elimination. And the first time that, my overconfident players are sitting at this table watching this game and see the head animate and breathe a disintegration ray into one of the other players at the table, they went, oh shit, because they're all like level 3 at this point or something. They cannot take it. Of course I had some backup story ideas for what, but I wanted to maintain the drama and the tension at the table. And I had one player just roll really well in their perception checks, and he ended up folding and leaving the table before he got dissolved. And walked away with a few winnings. So it was really, really fun. It was super high stakes, and the tension was just palpable.
Brilliant,
amazing,
brilliant. So okay, great. So Damien, news.
Yeah.
Yes. So I mentioned it was a good week for dystopian stories. It is. It's also a pretty good week for announcements and games that aren't D&D. We had our big D&D week last week. This week it is other publishers. Quick shout out, because I'd be remiss not to do it. This isn't a video game podcast, but Baldur's Gate 3 won Game of the Year this year. Which might sound, yeah, okay, great. It's a great game. I totally understand that. I can't stress enough how much of a coup that is to make them a darling of this year, because they were up against the likes of the
Zelda.
sequel to Breath of the Wild, Zelda,
Yep.
Mario,
Alan Wake 2, Mario,
Alan Wake 2, and Spider-Man. They were up against some titanic names
and really good games. If you
really good games too.
I've played Spider-Man. I've played Zelda. Obviously, I haven't played Alan Wake 2, but oh my god, what stiff competition! but
Yeah,
BG3, like
it's
I
turned
think
them
it's
into
really
the
good.
darling of 2023 in a year
Yeah.
that many video game industry professionals are calling probably the best year in video game history.
Mm.
So just wanted to shout out, well done Baldur's Gate for putting Larian. They were already on the map, but now those guys are blank checkbook territory, I think now.
Yeah.
Oh
I
yeah.
think so too.
Yeah. They're all over it, aren't they?
Yeah, they've become what you would call an S tier studio.
And it wasn't
at this point.
and it wasn't even Game of the Year, or it wasn't only just Game of the Year. It was like
Nope.
5 other awards, right?
Yeah,
Like,
they won. They won.
With 6.
I think they won the most over the course of the evening, including best performance as well. Which the actor who was up for best performance was alongside Idris Elba in
for Cyberpunk,
for Cyberpunk.
Phantom Liberty.
So this is the caliber of wins that Baldur's Gate was pulling out at the Game Awards.
Imagine you're just a guy who like went to their studio in where is it? That's not Poland. I forget where Larian is based. But imagine you just go there as a voice actor. You do a little bit of performance capture, and then cut to a couple of years later, and you're sitting next to Idris Elba at the Game Awards.
Yeah. That isn't
Insane,
in any way meant to diminish their position as an actor, but obviously Idris Elba is a big sort of Hollywood name.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
So yeah, well done to everyone at Larian Studios and the performers, and Game of the Year.
And well deserved, because they put so much hard work, and they keep working at it. Like, we're at patch 7 right now, and they keep adding and fixing and fine tuning, and we've gotten better endings for characters, better beginnings for characters. There's a way I can save Minthara now. Spoilers. I can't wait for my second playthrough.
The thing I love about it is that there's no like purchasing, like, oh, you have to purchase this in order to be like that, or there's like no downloadable content, no micro purchasing, none of that shit. It's just like, it's your game, enjoy it. And it's like, yeah, great, okay, I will.
And look, there's nothing wrong with DLC, with paid DLC, if it's worth it. I know I happily shelled out for the Witcher 3 expansions when they came out, Hearts of Stone and Blood and Wine, because first of all, Hearts of Stone was excellent and led to one of the coolest villains in fantasy history. If you haven't heard of Gontar O'Dim, look him up. He's basically like a trickster devil that follows you throughout that adventure, and always has this charming demeanor of a mirror merchant. And he's now in my games. I don't even make any qualms about it. Like, this is Gontar O'Dim. Everybody recognizes him from the Witcher games. And Blood and Wine could have been its own marketable game, and they sold it for 20 quid or whatever it was. No qualms when you've really put the hard work well after a game has come out to do it. But the whole thing, like, even though I love this game, like what Mass Effect 3 did, where they had day 1 DLC to download a character that's already in the files of the game, just locked behind a paywall. Come on.
It's not fair.
Yeah.
It's not fair. It's like what we were saying before. Were we saying it on the podcast, or we were saying before the podcast about that? Who are we talking about that company?
Blizzard. We were talking about Diablo 4.
Oh no, God of War.
Oh yeah, Santa Monica Studio. Yeah.
How they've given out the free.
I mean, Damien, sorry to take over your news segment, but
sorry.
We were talking about how awesome it is that at the Game Awards, they announced the Valhalla DLC for God of War Ragnarok, and for free and available the next week, like a few days later. That's mind blowing, considering how well that game did.
It's fantastic. It's like we were saying, wasn't it? It's like a really genius move on their part.
It's such unique content. It's not even just added story. It's a whole different way of approaching the game, because it's kind of like a roguelite element and expansion to the base game, which is
brilliant.
Nuts. The replayability alone,
Yeah, it's fantastic.
All right.
So good.
I'm calm.
So good.
What's up?
Sorry, Damien, back to you.
That's cool. That's cool. High recommend for God of War as well, especially if you want to run a D&D adventure that is based on Norse mythology. The God of War, the 2 newer God of War games, God of War and God of War Ragnarok, both showcase a great way to take that mythology in a loving way, but also make your own spin on it.
100%.
And make it your own version. So really high recommend, or even just watch the cutscenes online if you don't have the time to sink into the game. If you want that inspiration, go check it out.
Yeah, but it's also one of those like satisfying games to play.
Oh yeah,
like I could just sit and play it again. I remember I lost access to my PlayStation for a long time this year, and I only just recently got it back. And I had missed out on the New Game Plus, but I had already started another game without New Game Plus just to re-experience the story all over again and get to play it again. It's so fun to play.
Oh, fab. I'm gonna have to check it out. I've never played it. It's on PC, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah, I'm sure. I think it's on the Steam.
No, I don't think.
I think it is.
Maybe
not.
the first one is. Ragnarok, I'm pretty sure isn't yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe I'm wrong on that.
It's a Sony exclusive, so I don't know that it's come to PC.
But they are slowly bringing their exclusives to PC.
Yeah,
yeah. Because they got on their because they own Spider-Man, don't they?
The first Spider-Man is on PC. Ratchet and Clank is on PC.
Yeah, I've got that.
God of War is on Steam. The last version of it, or the first new version of it.
Okay, sweet. Great. I have to get that. I have to give it a go.
All right, moving swiftly on then.
Indeed.
So I mentioned dystopias. It is a pretty good week for the studio Free League. I don't know if you guys know Free League.
Yep, I know Free League. Yep.
Free League are responsible for the Alien role-playing game, which I really love.
Nice.
And the dice system of that. So they've had two game announcements, kind of one kind of brand new one and one actual sort of release date announcement. The release date announcement is for a little-known dystopian franchise called The Walking Dead. Based on the graphic novel series.
Very cool.
So the Walking Dead official role-playing game by Free League is coming out, I think, in January. It uses their Year Zero engine, which is kind of their core dice rolling mechanic. It's a D6 dice pool system. And so far looks like a core book, a starter set, and a GM screen, as well as some custom dice. So if you're interested in the world of The Walking Dead, definitely check that one out. The Year Zero engine, I can see working really well in that, because I've used it in the Alien system, and you basically build a dice pool of D6s, looking for 6s as a success, and it's based on like a stat and a skill. Add up that number, and that's how many dice you're rolling. But it has a stress mechanic. And your stress level increases, and for each level of stress that you get an additional dice.
Yeah,
but it's a different colored dice. So what it basically says is the more stressed you get, the more focused you become, so you're more likely to be able to kind of succeed in these challenges.
Performs under pressure.
That's like real life.
However,
God, I had a boss who said it to me. He'd be like, "Well," I'd be like, "Why are you always on my back?" And she'd be like, "Because Rob, when you're under pressure, you really perform." And I'm like,
the same way.
Fuck you. I don't want to perform under pressure. I hate it.
Well, the game mirrors that. And however, failure using those stress dice has dire consequences.
I'm imagining.
And it can fall apart really, really quickly, to the point that your character can just fall into a state of catatonia and just stop.
Wow.
I actually had, I ran Alien once, and the first xenomorph they encountered, one of my players very, very valiantly with naught but basically a blowtorch, ran over to the xenomorph, tried to blowtorch the xenomorph, completely forgetting they have acid blood. Took damage from the acid blood, rolled on the injury table, and rolled the instant death number.
Oh, wow.
So it was,
it's that
one and
intense.
Done. One and done,
gone.
Yeah.
That's a way to confirm lethality of this setting,
That's
that alien can kill people very quickly and very easily. Yeah.
The interesting thing, the tagline looks like they're going to play very much into how the show is, because the tagline is "Fight the dead, fear the living."
Oh, cool.
So it looks like they're definitely playing into that it's actually the other survivors that are the real problem.
Yeah.
And the undead are just this kind of horrible natural disaster that frames everything.
Oh, wow.
Right. The setting.
Yeah, this basically like the TV show, pretty much.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Very exciting. I've only ever played one other zombie apocalypse game, and it's from what I understand, a relatively little known one called Outbreak Undead. Okay. I have the books for it. It's got it's much more designed as a simulation, though. It's very much designed as you monitor everything.
Cool.
What you eat, sleeping, damage, everything.
Very survival.
Very survival based.
When you go to the loo?
If
very
you want,
important.
it's got 3 levels of play. Weekend Warrior, there's another one, and then Survival Mode, which is you track your BMI and everything. It's it's full on
BMI.
It is full on
Oh my god,
survival simulation.
wow.
But it's got a great dice system. Check it out if you get the chance. If you're into some crunch.
Okay, cool. I'll tell you what I would like to see. Do you know what I would like to see?
What?
Right? I would like to see a tabletop RPG that has this guy as the main bad guy. 1 second.
Oh, we're in suspense mode. Dear listeners, thank you for this little break where we're going to announce our sponsors ourselves. Oh!
So what we're seeing right now is the portrait of Vigo from Ghostbusters 2.
I've got him hanging in my office. He literally looks at me like I turn around like
terrifying.
I know.
I could go for a long time on how much I want a Ghostbusters RPG.
Why isn't there one? It could be fucking incredible.
Well, because the IP is still
monsters.
owned, right?
The monster. Well, yeah, I mean, they did one in the 80s, didn't they, with West End Games?
Yeah, there is technically one from a long while ago.
It's not very good though.
It's not very good.
Yeah. It's very like, you know, a bit like, you know, like it's been written in a rush type of thing.
Doesn't have the refinement of modern RPGs.
Right. It's time for an upgrade.
Because I'm surprised because The Walking Dead is a really like it's one of the cheapest IPs you can get, as is Ghostbusters, which is why you can see Ghostbusters like serials in certain places and all this kind of stuff, because it's a really not a very expensive IP in terms of like everything else that's out there. So I'm amazed that like it's never been taken up, because it could be, if someone got their hands on it that really loved Ghostbusters, they could really make that game awesome.
I have been dying to rewatch these. I haven't seen them since I was a kid. I've obviously need to redo it. I
have penned some ideas myself on how a system might work.
It'd be amazing. I know, I can already like I've not thought about it, but I know that if I did, I could come up with some really great ideas.
I mean, we have the makings of it right here, right? We have the producer with the creator and the playtester.
Oh, there you go.
You have to hear first, folks. Hollywood Games Company will be releasing the Ghostbusters.
Right, the genesis of Ghostbusters RPG.
What would you make it? What kind of dice system would you make it?
Dice system, I don't know. It's more. I've more thought about sort of the stats and the mechanics of ghost hunting and things like that. The actual dice system,
you could definitely do it 5e, easy.
You could do
a 5e conversion. Yeah,
easy.
5e one.
Just run a Ghostbusters game up. You clearly want to.
I would love to. I think with like, and also as well because they're all scientists, and like Winston, for example, isn't a scientist. He's just there because he wants to get paid,
right?
Like for a payday. You could have like different levels, like just like courage or like I don't know, intellect. I don't know if you would use wisdom as such, or maybe like
you would, and they all have
specializes
scores.
yeah, exactly. Because you got to keep it to the comedy element of it, don't you?
Yeah.
I looked at a system of using the parts of the brain that function as basically motor function and creativity and things as your stats. So having the parts of the brain as
that could be cool. And then your ability score on your actual sheet is like a brain with the different areas highlighted.
That's really
cool. Interesting. Yeah.
Like Peter Venkman could just be like a fraudster, like just a fraud. You know, it's just like honestly, those films, I love them. Like, you know, I know I've spoken about it before on the podcast, but Ghostbusters 2 is a masterclass in storytelling. If you ever want to see, like, in the sense of like, if you ever want to see a perfect template of how a story is structured, watch Ghostbusters 2. Granted, I know it was like a lot of critics didn't like it, and there's a lot of people that thought some of the acting was a bit ropey or whatever. But if you watch the story and you just look at it from a storytelling perspective, the story begins in the opening scene. Straight away, the story is introduced, the stakes are introduced. The threats introduced, it's just so good, just so good. I love it.
Back off, man! I'm a scientist.
Yeah, I love it. I love that shit. Oh, it's so good. And Egon's fascination with slime. Yeah. Oh, I just everything about that is just so good. And Ghostbusters Afterlife as well is very good. The one they did with the girls was a bit crap. but the one with the kids and the afterlife one was brilliant.
It's very
There's
good. Yeah.
is it Robot Head? You guys ever watch Robot Head on YouTube? The guy
Robot
does like,
Head.
yeah, type in Robot Head Ghostbusters Afterlife. He does a really great review on it. He talks about
Okay.
how, because he normally reviews Star Wars stuff, and
Right.
he's like really disheartened by how crap
Star Wars has become.
yeah, and how in the sequels they really did it, like really like made Luke to be out to be this like just a complete failure, even though in like the original films he was the hero.
Right.
So he really hated that, and he does in Afterlife, where you see Egon as a ghost. No spoilers, by the way. We see Egon as a ghost.
Damn it.
and he's served in such a really great way that really pays homage to his character. The fact that the actor has now died as well in real life. It's just really really good how they tee that up.
Cool.
So yeah, I recommend the Ghostbusters films to anyone. I think they're fantastic.
Excellent. It's on my watch list for like this week.
Oh,
I want to do it this week.
Oh yeah. They're fucking brilliant. They're absolutely brilliant. So yeah, an RPG, Ghostbusters RPG.
Nice.
Let's make it happen.
Yeah, let's try and make it happen.
Back to the news.
Yeah, one other quick one from Free League as well. It looks like they're doing another game based on artwork by Simon Stalenhag. If you know Tales from the Loop, which was another game they did, as well as is it a Netflix show? I think Tales from the Loop as well.
I don't know if it is or not. Hold on, let me look.
They're doing a game called The Electric State, which is based on a art book by Simon Stalenhag, and is soon to be a major motion picture by all accounts as well. An alternate 1997 post a AI war.
Oh wow!
Simon,
there you go.
If you've ever scrolled artwork in Pinterest or similar sites, you will have almost undoubtedly come across some of Simon Stalenhag's work.
Probably.
It's very melancholy. It's usually a mundane modern scene, but with some fantastical thing within it, like a huge robot draped over an overpass, like a highway overpass, or
cool.
You know, some monstrous machine burying its way into the ground, or a dinosaur walking across the road. These very moody, melancholic pieces, and he's become very famous for it. And yeah, Tales from the Loop is based on his work, and it seems now Electric State will also be based on his work, and just filled with his artwork.
So Tales from the Loop, the filmed version of it was on Amazon Prime Video.
Was it Amazon Prime? Yeah.
And that was back in 2020. I think it only got one season, but tell you what, it got really good reviews. 86% on Rotten Tomatoes. Apparently it was really good. So I would check it out. Sounds cool.
The other thing I wanted to cover, and this will be the last news story I've got, is that a big sort of announcement for a game that hasn't been made yet, but is going to be made, is the MCDM role-playing game.
Yes!
We actually talked about Matthew Colville last week, and his company MCDM have announced the Kickstarter and subsequently massively funded the Kickstarter for their new role-playing game, which is their own fantasy role-playing game. And it sounds like it's going to be very tactical.
Cinematic. I think they
very
said
cinematic.
cinematic.
To put that in context, they've said that when you are making an attack roll, it seems it's going to be a D6 based system. When you make an attack roll, the roll that you make is the damage.
Cool.
So there's no missing. There's no wasted turns. It's described as a kind of a chess game between the enemies and the players.
I always wanted that, because I think that was my one gripe from playing D&D the very first time, because I'd come into it from a video game background and I didn't understand the concept of missing. I was like, and now of course I know much better, but I see the disappointment in my players' eyes every time they roll and they miss and they feel like they didn't do anything and have to wait 15 minutes for their turn to come back around in a long combat. And I'm like, oh, I wish I could take that away from you. I want you to hit, even if it means different mechanics around it, and you know how health works and armor works. I am very interested by MCDM's approach at it, and I'll probably pick it up and end up running a campaign at least once through it. And I did look it up, by the way, Damien. It's on BackerKit, and it currently, out of its $800,000 USD, its $800,000 goal, it's at $2,899,950. So practically $2.9 million already.
Fucking hell, man!
Out of
think
800K.
They crushed their stretch goals with it too.
Yeah.
One of the stretch goals was for them to, and Matt Culver was very careful to say, work on, and hope it actually pays off, but work on their own VTT for their own game.
Wow,
so
okay.
they will have a dedicated VTT for it if they can make it work. And it seems like they've already got somebody working on it even before it was funded.
Wow.
So the fact that it's massively funded means they can really, really start work on this thing now and get it going. And it seems like they're going to convert a lot of the books that they created for 5e. So Kingdoms and Warfare and Flea Mortals and all these other books that they've released for 5e, they're going to back convert them to their own system and
how cool is that?
Have them within their own world. So
yeah,
very exciting for fantasy RPGs, a new take on the genre. We already know that presumably Darrington Press, the Critical Role team, their publishing studio, are working on a fantasy system as well.
Really?
Right. Yes.
Which could be also massive, given that they're I think similar, like I think it was $750,000 they asked for their animated special episode, and earned $11.5 million and
fucking insane.
Got all the TV shows out of it on Amazon Prime with Legend of Vox Machina. So when they launch that game, I imagine that will be pretty big too. They've also just released the hard copies of Candela Obscura, which is their kind of 20s horror mystery themed game. So that was released recently too.
I actually was watching an in-depth review about Candela Obscura from a TTRPG reviewer. I only saw the one, so I'm really kind of saying this in a vacuum. I haven't had the chance to compare it to other reviews, but apparently it's massively flawed. The initial print of it doesn't have any mechanics for player death. They just left that out. And some people are sort of saying, well, they did that intentionally, but it seems very misleading. The organization of the book is apparently not great, considering that Darrington Press did so much good stuff for Critical Role. I don't want to sort of add to the zeitgeist if there's already a lot of bad press about it out there, but I'm really curious to see if anybody in our team has any hands-on experience or picked up a copy of the book and see what they find. So let us know in our Discord if you checked it out, or if you're playing a game right now with its release. What do you think? Because that would be interesting.
I'd love to hear that too. I've only ever seen a couple of episodes of the live play that Critical Role did, so I'd be interested to know.
The concept is cool. You know, it obviously borrows a lot from, you know, a Call of Cthulhu vibe, and has elements of other TTRPGs in there that are a little less well known, but it's we'll see where it goes. I'm sure that these are errors that can be fixed if there are any, you know, and then this will live on in more infamy. Cool news, man.
Right, good news. So
it's a great time to be a geek.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really
did you guys see in the podcast chatter on the Discord, they were kind of, there's a couple of people in there talking about it was to do with, based on what we were talking about last week about Batman being a certain D&D character and how he would, like, saying he'd be like an oath paladin, I think it was, wasn't it? Or
what classes he would have.
What classes he would have. Yeah.
No, I haven't seen it.
So since we chatted about it, so we let me just pull it up a second. Where are we? Podcast channel. So shout out to Jez. Jez says that definitely a podcast segment for this, in terms of getting characters from pop culture and turning them into D&D characters or D&D classes. So I did put in here, no one's actually answered this, so I put in RoboCop, Sarah Connor, Ripley, Rambo, the Hulk, who I think we did speak about last time, didn't we? We said he would be a barbarian, and Iron Man. So
Artificer.
Yeah. What do you think? Do you think Sarah Connor and Ripley would be the same class? Would they be different?
Nope. I think Sarah Connor is I think Sarah Connor is some version of like a battle master fighter. I'm debating now. I could really think about it and look at the subclasses a little bit more in detail. But I see Sarah Connor as a fighter, and actually I see Ripley as a rogue with an edge, with a real grudge. Maybe you know, what's the rogue class that allows you to attack twice in a turn? There is one I know.
Yeah,
But
she actually, I get what you're saying, because she would be a rogue, because the company Wayland is the authority, and she's
yeah,
obviously against Wayland,
yep, yeah.
so she would
She's
be a rogue in
defined
that
that. Yeah,
in that
thematically there.
world. Yeah, she would be a rogue. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And
Interesting.
then Sarah Connor with proficiency in every freaking weapon is definitely a fighter to me.
Yeah, definitely.
She self-trains herself, and she's good at
Yeah.
directing people. That's what makes me think
Oh,
Battlemaster fighter.
I
Sure.
love Terminator 2. What a great film. I
It's
remember
a
that. I remember that
masterclass.
came out. I must have been about 13 when it came out, and I managed to somehow get into the cinema to watch it,
Mm.
and I was just like, oh my god, this is
Yeah.
like
Yeah. It's epic.
I've never seen a film like this before.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Where you and like when Arnie spoiler if you've not seen
For
Terminator 2,
a 30-year-old movie.
yeah, right. How when Arnie dies at the end and you really care about his character.
The
I
thumbs up into the
think,
lava.
yeah, I think they really missed a trick with Terminator 3 with the relationship between John Connor and the T1 and the T what is it? Was it a T
800. It was a
T800?
T800.
T800, yeah. His like that relationship where John Connor sees him in
Mm-hmm.
Terminator 3, he's just like, what's your mission? What's your mission?
Yeah.
And it's like he should just be like,
There was a bond there. He was like a
they should be
father
like,
figure
he
that
should
he
be like,
never had,
holy
you know?
fuck, it's you.
Yeah.
It should
Yeah.
like there should have been something there for everyone that watched Terminator 2, but they didn't do it, which is a real shame. They missed the emotional element.
I suddenly realized we talked last week about taking set pieces out of pop culture and slamming them in D&D. A lot of people, because it's so well known now, it's hard to imagine the twist at the beginning of that movie where you don't know which of the two individuals is going to be the villain.
Right. Oh yeah, sure.
The hallway scene where he pulls the shotgun out of the rose box.
Yeah, it isn't revealed until John is between both of them, and Arnie's character very famously says, "Get down," and he shoots, and then and then it all hell breaks loose.
Oh, it's so good.
That could be a fun kind of having the players pinned between two opposing things and not knowing which one is the threat. They know one of them is meant to be, but they don't know which one it is, and they don't know where they can trust their allegiance. That could be fun.
I bet Arnie absolutely loved it when he read that script for the first time, and he's like, "Oh, I get to be the good guy."
Yeah,
as the Terminator.
Yeah.
Such
what a concept.
James Cameron is a clever motherfucker.
Yeah,
like that is just like okay. Oh, did you? I'm sure I've said this on the podcast before, but when he did the pitch for Aliens, because obviously Ridley Scott directed the first one, he was called into
James
the
Cameron for number 2. I thought
number 2. Yeah, James Cameron number 2. Yeah,
James Cameron.
Yeah.
His pitch for it, right, is he literally walked into the executive room. All the executives were sat there. He said nothing. He sat down. He got a big black marker pen out, took the lid off, turned to the Alien poster that was behind them, and just wrote an S
after
next
it.
to Aliens, and then just put the lid on, put the lid back on, and threw the pen across the desk like a boss, right? And all the executives, just this really happened. All the executives looked at each other and went, "Oh my god, what? There's more of them? Oh my god, that's genius!"
and he was right. What a movie!
Yeah, what a movie! What a movie!
That sounds like one of those things that you just. It sounds like an urban legend that never really happened. But if it really happened, that is
that totally
cool.
happened. That totally happened.
That's
that
a
totally
boss
happened.
moment.
Yeah. They talk about it at film school. They talk about it at film school.
My favorite James Cameron boss moment was fairly recent. Actually, it came out that when he was making the first Avatar, apparently the studio had a meeting with him to say that the whole sort of flight sequence had to be taken out, sort of that pivotal moment, because it was too long. And it's reported that James Cameron basically said to them, "No, we're not taking that out of the movie. This studio that we're sat in having this conversation was paid for by me. I made Titanic, I get to decide what gets cut out of my movie.
Absolutely. Good on him as well, because like who are they to say to him like he's a fucking great
He's a
filmmaker.
fabled hard ass. I mean,
Yeah.
there are a
brilliant.
lot of negative stories about his famous kind of hard edge in making movies. There's a lot of people that sort of brushed up against it, but in the long run, I think.
I mean, you can't. Yeah, exactly. It's like with Stanley Kubrick as well. Like Stanley Kubrick pushes actors to the point of like insanity with like take 70, and they're just all they're doing is walking through a set of doors. It was what's his chops? The guy who played the wolf in Pulp Fiction, Harvey Keitel. He was he was originally going to play Stanley Pollock's character in the film he did about the sex parties.
Oh, I don't even know what that one is.
What's it called? One with Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman. We do this a lot.
I really should.
I do this so much that I'm just like, I just can't think of anything.
We really need to get a third or a fourth person to just have constantly on the computer referencing.
Yeah, right.
Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman. What is this?
Tom Cruise.
Aren't there a couple of these? Eyes Wide Shut?
Eyes Wide Shut, that's it. In Eyes Wide Shut, that's it. So he got Harvey Keitel to walk through a set of doors 70 times. And Harvey Keitel just on the 70 take, Harvey Keitel just looked at him and went, right, I'm done.
Yeah.
It's like, this is ridiculous.
Like, you get the opposite end of that spectrum. You've heard about Clint Eastwood and his directing method. He never does like more than one take. Because it's all about, for him, he's very production minded. And obviously his whole acting background, he knows how much that stuff can cost and the toll it takes on an actor. So he goes for one, maybe two takes. And you hear celebrities on interviews talking about this all the time, about how he directs his films. And he's like, all right, we're done. We're moving on. We're like, really? Can I do it one more time? No, too much money. Move. Next scene.
Yeah, right. It's that pressure, isn't it? It's the pressure of that one. Knowing that you only have to do like one or two takes. You're just like, fuck. I hope I get it right.
Hey, listen, man. As a theater actor, no problem.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Right. Absolutely. It's interesting. We're talking about aliens and set pieces earlier. The one thing that I really don't like about the cut of Aliens that originally came out is them taking out the hallway scene with the guns.
Yeah,
that scene is so good for it as a set piece. That's something you could definitely put into D&D.
Yeah,
definitely, especially in a dungeon environment. Like absolutely. Like, that's perfect. Perfect.
All they're doing is watching the ammo count go down.
Yeah. It's just brilliant. It's just brilliant. Gun one's out.
Yeah.
Gun two's at 30%. I think you just hear the aliens like, ah! It's just so good. Oh,
classic, man. Hey, we're talking a lot about cinematic stuff. I wanted to ask you guys a question slightly in the same vein. Have you ever done this, A, and B, how do you feel about it if you haven't? Have you ever done a cinematic cutscene in your game that doesn't necessarily involve the players? So to sort of frame the story almost like you're watching a movie cinematically, right?
Yep, done it a couple of times.
I typically haven't, or I hadn't done this up until a few months ago, where I wanted to end the session. They had a really epic win. They had sort of, I think my players had attacked a factory and they were interrupting a drug sort of a operation in the city, and everything went well. And then they were like, yeah, we climbed to the top of the hill. We escaped. We're awesome. And then I was like, great, we're about time. But just as you end, the camera pans out and suddenly you see a raven swoop in. And
nice.
The camera follows the raven as it soars low over the city of Baldur's Gate, soaring between the spires. And then, I had it dive down into a cave below a hill where they saw, a villain talking to a minion or something and developing the next stage of the plan. Not a lot of it, just a little teaser of it, enough to let them know that there is something much worse on the horizon as a consequence of what they just did, basically.
Oh, brilliant.
That kind of thing. Have you guys done that?
Yeah, I did this thing whereby it was in like the second session of the first, maybe it was like, I can't remember exactly what session it was, but it was basically the beginning of a session whereby there was a cut scene that I acted out with this mage on top of this tower, and there's his like assistant comes running in. He's got like a newspaper clipping, and he's like, sir, look at this, and he's like reading it, and it's like the exploits of what the players had been doing.
Nice.
And but the exploits of what they've been doing actually like nods to a prophecy that's happening. It's like, oh no, it can't be, great. Get my saddle at once. And she like goes off and gets his saddle, and he puts it on a griffin, and he like flies off this mage. He's like flying on this griffin, and then as he flies off into the griffin, he sort of like disappears, and then it cuts to like maybe like the end of that session or the end of the second session. They're fighting this dragon, and then all of a sudden they see in the distance this griffin coming towards them with this guy on top of it, like they're like, oh my god, it's him. And he's like, Tommy, are you the great word? And they're like, yes. He's like, I've heard your exploits. And he's like, come to help him, like kind of thing.
Did you say great word?
Great sword, yeah. Do you know the?
Is that a thing?
Yeah,
what is that?
So basically, do you know Alvin's group? With
dude, no, that's why I'm asking you. Yeah. That's where it started with me.
Yeah.
That's why. Oh, Damien, this is a legendary story.
That's what they call themselves. They call themselves the Great Sword.
The Great Swords. Because, oh God. Okay, so Alvin is a longtime Rolldark fan and player. And Rob, I think you had started them off with a Descent into Avernus campaign, and then they passed off to me for a Tomb of Annihilation campaign. They were at the first Rolldark Fest. You know, he's got a whole bunch of friends. But they're a little bit more of the beer and pretzels players. Love you guys if you're listening in. No, not a bad thing.
Natural ones, they do a shot. Natural 20s, they do a shot. Maybe a 2, they'll do a shot.
This is so fun.
They're just tanked at the end of each session. They're just absolutely hammered.
Yeah. And oh my God, there was a moment where one of the players, I forget exactly who, opened up their character sheet.
It was Kevin.
And Kevin, was it Kevin? This was a moment cemented. He was like, I guess I'll attack with my greatsword. And we were like, everyone stopped for a second and said, what did you say? It's like, I don't know. I have this thing called a greatsword in my sheet. I guess we'll use that. We're like, do you mean greatsword?
Bless him.
Oh God, I can't believe they still remember that moment, and they've like made it a thing.
That's the name of their party. They're called the Great Sword.
That's the sort of thing you never live down.
No,
that's never going anywhere.
I've had bards write songs about them, and ChatGPT has like written like a song about the Great Sword and their escapades and stuff. And I've had like they go into like a tavern and there's bards like singing about them, and they're like, "Oh, that's us." They go in and they're like,
"That's the podcast episode name right there." But you need to put the space between. It's not Great Sword; it's Great Space Word.
Great Sword.
Great Sword.
The Great Sword.
This mage is like, "I've heard of these exploits.
Good God,
I was taken off immediately to Icewind Dale." That kind of shit. Yeah, pretty cool.
So I do the cinematic thing a lot. I have a very cinematic brain, and so I will often use the word camera to describe a way in which things are to be perceived. I do that a lot. A couple of examples of a cinematic I can think of. One, I'm a big fan of the callback. So home game, Tomb of Annihilation. You're sick of hearing it.
Never. Tell me more. Always.
Really early on, this is only very, very minor spoilers. Like this, you should be pitching the game with this. Let's put it that way. It's you can actually take part in dinosaur races really early on.
The back cover description of the book.
Yeah. And they ended up riding on a Styracosaurus, #favorite dinosaur, and they called it Tukey. And they basically chose Tukey, the dinosaur, from the crowd. It wasn't a dinosaur that was a racing dinosaur. They just basically paid a young sort of farmhand to take their dinosaur into the race, ended up winning it, and then kind of just riding off into the sunset to finish that module. And sort of taking on the name, The Legend of Tukey, which was kind of our group name for a long time. And right at the end of the campaign, when they had defeated the villain, which is as much as I will say, defeated the villain, all of the sort of waves of enemies that were over the island were being kind of wiped out by this kind of wave of energy, literally being destroyed. And I described this wave of energy rolling across the landscape and literally turning these entities to ash in just this shock wave of positive energy at the destruction of the villain.
Great.
And then described a set of kind of large round feet running through the forested undergrowth, with two small bare feet running alongside, and behind them the feet of many, many roving undead, which were suddenly and brightly destroyed in a flash of light. Pan up to a small boy resting against a large Styracosaurus, which itself flops down into the ground, and the young boy basically says, "That was close, Tukey. Come on, let's get back."
Oh, that's like heartwarming.
The kind of wave of emotion that they had on their faces when they realized that they just entirely the other side of the island saved the life of this one character. They later found out that because they won the race, that kid was minted now. Went from being a poor farmhand to a very rich kind of famous dinosaur race breeder.
Amazing. That's beautiful.
So I love a callback.
They probably didn't even care that, the final boss had been defeated and the massive worldwide curse had been lifted. It was that one dinosaur and the one racer boy that are now the real goal, the real satisfaction of them winning. That's beautiful.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Yeah. I think D&D especially, and lots of TTRPGs, I'm sure, but D&D especially lends itself to that sort of cinematic, and it helps frame a story really well. Like I thought about this, and I think the next time I start a new campaign, I want to kind of start with that and see how that's taken, kind of like a cutscene that they get to either obviously listen to rather than watch, but about what the villain is doing or some consequence of the villain's actions in a very typical movie setup way, where there's like the slow reveal and then it cuts to them, partying at a tavern and being ridiculous at level 1 or whatever it is, right?
It's cool.
To frame the stakes,
I always act it out. I've done it a couple of times where with like a complete group of beginners, and they're just like looking at me like, "What the fuck is this guy doing?" And I'm just like, and then the dragon's like, "Raw!" And it was like, "Ah!" And it was like, it's just like
the neighbor knocks over and it's like, "Is everything okay in here?"
They call an ambulance. It's like these guys in white coats turn up and like this mad guy like throwing himself around some dude's living room he's never been in before.
Listen, it's part of the nature of what we do, right? Like we have to go over the top. And I'll always remember this interview that I watched ages ago about the development of the Joker character for Mark Hamill's performance when he started with Batman the Animated Series. He talked about driving to his audition that day and how he was in the car practicing different laughs for the Joker, and how he didn't want the Joker to have just one laugh. He wanted him to have many. And so in this interview, you hear him go through the cycle, and he's like, "Oh, I was just waiting in traffic as you do in LA, and I was going, oh, bats, no, but that's not really right. What about?" and he's like, "Oh, people were probably looking at me, but then again, nobody probably looks in LA. It's twice. It's some guy just laughing in their car.
They just don't give a shit." Yeah, standard sort of freeway kind of.
Exactly.
The car used to be my voice practicing. I used to a previous job. I used to drive a lot, and the car was my voice practicing space. That was exactly where I would do it.
Best place to do it, man. Yeah, I always hum on my way to gigs and stuff. If I'm having to drive, I always just warming up my vocals.
It's a good vocal warm up. I do that when I wake up before the podcast. Now I'm just like the second I get up and I brush my teeth and I get up and I'm like,
yeah, it's a good idea. It's a good idea.
But I learned something today. Styracosaurus. I did not know that was the name of it. Very cool.
There you go. Yeah, cool. Well, guys, we've got some. I think we need to do a few shout outs actually. JC, you've got No Malone this Sunday, haven't you?
I do, yes. Please come check it out. It's Home Alone based. I just rewatched the first film. I'm going to rewatch the second tonight. It is. We've done it before. It's always a blast. You play as the Waterdeep Bandits trying to get into Kevin McAllister's well-defended home. Your objective being Santa's famous bag of holding of toys somewhere in the mansion, and you have to put up with all of the different sort of traps and devious little magical trickery that this gnome Kevin McAllister has set up for any wanton bandits such as yourselves. So it's a one shot.
Sick.
It's good fun. It's in good spirits. If you dress up or you make good Home Alone references, you get inspiration points and all that jazz. So
Amazing.
check it out.
It's this Sunday, 6 till 10. Is that right?
Yes, 6 to 10 p.m. UK time, Sunday. A perfect Sunday night game.
Yeah,
In the
nice.
spirit of the holidays.
Yeah, wicked. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. So we've also got some others as well. We've got Sandy's Little Helpers, which is on the exact same date and time.
There you go.
That's
I
being
won't.
run
I won't feel
by...
bad. Don't worry.
No,
Only a little.
No, exactly. That's been run by Ruben Austin, one of our DMs. It's a family friendly adventure. So it's I think I believe it's set on sort of based around the borrowers type of thing. So that could be cool. And we've also got Dice Hard, which is being run by Face.
Yeah, classic.
I think he's done this a few times now, but yeah, it's a really good, really fun, a really good fun one. And then what else do we have? We've also got The Ritual of Vintimus, which is being run by Jordan. I know he's got a few of his regular players have already booked onto this, so I'm not too sure on how many spots are left, but I know they're going to be level 5, and they're on the 15th of December, so that's actually going to be on Friday, I think, isn't it? 15th? Is that Friday?
Sounds about right. Let's see.
Yeah, Friday night.
the 15th.
Yeah, Friday night
in like
at
4 days.
7 p.m.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. And also as well, in the new year, we've got some new games starting. So you may already know we've got Steampunk Strahd. That one is coming out on the 2nd of January, 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. And there's still some spots available for that.
Ooh, that opened up. Cool.
Yeah.
Listen to our previous podcast if you want to hear the pitch about this game. It's really good.
Sounds awesome. It should be really, really fun. That one had sold out, but actually we've got some more spaces available because it was bought by I think the slots were bought by a father, and he had some kids that were going to be in it. But we sort of seemed it might be a bit inappropriate for young children, so we've opened the slots back up. And then we've also got Eldrin Relics of Ruin. That one starts on the 24th of January, 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. on a Wednesday. 6 players starting at level 1, beginner friendly, and it'll be on Discord and Roll20. And that one's being run by Samuel Anderton, who is one of our newest DMs. So yeah, I believe that's all we have at the moment in terms of games.
I just make a quick shout out? We've I do Icewind Dale Rime of the Frost Maiden on a Tuesday night, and we have 2 spaces open in that game. It's getting to the later stages. It's not a fresh start.
What level are they?
7 right now.
Okay, cool.
So, that's an interesting level to join.
Yeah,
I know the adventure. I know whereabouts they are, but
sometimes it's quite cool to join in quite late into an adventure, because especially if you've got like plans of where you're going to take it next and stuff, it's quite a nice way to sort of interject, so you get the tail end of what they've all been up to, and that can effectively be your backstory, I suppose, when you go into the next adventure.
Yeah. We're Tuesday nights, 7:30 till 11:30. Roll20 and Zoom for video. So feel free to come along. And I also just wanted to say, I've mentioned a couple of games today. Outbreak Undead, Fallout. If any of those are exciting to you, let us know in the game request channel.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I'd love to give those a spin on.
Yeah. Likewise, I was gifted by a Rolldark player, actually, the whole set of the new Avatar role-playing game, as in not James Cameron's Avatar, not to confuse it with our previous topic, but Avatar The Last Airbender, the role-playing game, which is one of my favorite, if not my favorite, series of all time. And I haven't had a chance to run it or play it with anyone, so if anyone is interested in that, hit me up in the comments, tag me on Discord, and I would be very cool with starting up a group for that, because how awesome would that be?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Who doesn't want to be a bender in the world of the Avatar The Last Airbender?
I was so disappointed with the film.
What film?
God, yeah, exactly.
There was never a film.
Yeah.
We don't talk about it.
Ash kneels down.
It is gonna be
Oh yes, so he does, because we can see him doing it. You don't need to tell us. It's just like bloody hell.
But yeah, Damien, you're right. There is going to be a new series, new live action.
Cool.
We'll see. I'm saying
live action. Okay, that'd be cool.
Trailer looked pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm into the books, the extended universe of that stuff. It's just such a great story.
Would you, Damien? Would you do an Alien RPG?
100%, I would. Yeah. If you want to experience the world of Ridley Scott and James Cameron's, being the primary inspirations. I mean, of course, there's a few other directors that have touched that franchise, but if you are interested in that side of the franchise, then I would 100% run a game based on that. If you like a bit of stressful sci-fi horror based in the world of Alien and Aliens, let me know and I'll be right on it.
It's just basically my life with the sci-fi trapping on it. Just stress and hiding from people.
We have been doing this thing at Rolldark whereby we introduce a free one shot in a new system, and if you are keen to make it into a campaign, what will actually happen is the DMs, because they're running the one shot for free, when it goes into a campaign, the DMs take a pretty decent slice of the revenue that's generated from the game. So you'll get about 70% cut, which is pretty cool. So if you guys are interested in doing it, I would suggest doing a one shot first. Make sure you got some players that are like, up for doing a campaign and they've got the time to do it. And then, get it into like either a monthly or bi-weekly or weekly or whatever fits your schedule, and enjoy the extra cash.
I've been in a recent kick of just looking up Vampire the Masquerade stuff. I've never played.
That's Mike's doing that right now.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, he's doing a monthly Vampire
I'm gonna hit him up and see if I can sit in on a session. I just want to see what the vibe is. I just want to sit in and figure out if this is the kind of.
Is it Lost Boys or is it Anne Rice or is it Sparkly Vampires? That's what I want to know.
I've run Vampire a few times, and I think the big draw of that game is the world, the idea of all the different clans lore. And
the
extremely deep lore.
Yeah.
My wish list for because it is World of Darkness within that vampire werewolf kind of grouping.
White Wolf Publishing, right?
Is Geist, the Sin Eaters. That's the one I really want to run, which takes the idea of somebody who has been close to death and makes a bargain with a creature called a Geist to continue on living. And it's a very kind of ghostly, slightly more adult version of sort of Coco, if you've ever seen Coco.
I love Coco. Several times over.
Or Mama, if you like horror movies.
Very cool. Well, hey, Damien, if you ever run a Vampire the Masquerade one shot or something like that, let me know. I'm in. I'm hungry. I'm trying to diversify my TTRPG experiences, but I'm also, I have no time. So
I think I if I was to run it, I would want it to be so that the vampires are incredibly rare in the world. They're literally you count, you don't find any other clans. There are no clans. It's basically like Interview with a Vampire. You've got Louis and you've got Lestat, and Lestat's I have no idea about other vampires. If there's others, I find that really, really interesting because it's like how, so what are we? And Louis and Lestat's like, I don't have the answers, Louis. Leave me alone. I don't know.
Right.
And it's like I just know what we feed, and that's it. And they both, and how Lestat can read minds, but Louis can't.
Right.
And that kind of stuff. It's just such a really clever.
Yeah.
It could easily be played that way. The whole kind of idea is that of the Masquerade being that the vampires are actively trying to keep their existence a secret. Can be very much played that way. And I think a lot of the modern interpretation now introduces the New Inquisition. So there is a scope to have much less vampires in the world.
2 days ago, it looked really cool.
Okay, sweet.
There's I came up with this. It wasn't a system. It was just an idea for a story not that long ago, and I've been on that vampire kick ever since. Where it's the exact opposite. Rob, I love. Don't get me wrong. I think traditional me loves the idea of the vampires being extremely rare and doing their best to figure out who they are in the world. But I came up with a system where it was, or not a system, again, a story where it was the reverse. It was post-apocalyptic, and humans had basically annihilated themselves into the brink of extinction, and then the vampires that had been resting for centuries now seize their opportunity to become the new masters of the world, and so they keep and breed humans in their city. But there's also a resistance that's called the Underground, and then there's a separate society called it's not Zion, but it's basically like the last city of free humans, but they have their own government where they pretend vampires don't exist, and they're under constant false sunlight. Cool. I don't know. It was just a kind of throwing ideas on paper.
That's a cool idea, man.
It's a cool idea. And then guess what? I was kind of delving down the rabbit hole on this, and it turns out that this idea was basically the parting line for Vampire Hunter D, the anime, and it's exactly that kind of world. And humans had bombed themselves into nuclear extinction, and I was like, oh Jesus, I could have, if I had this idea, 30 years ago as a toddler.
I had a very
would've
similar
gotten good money.
experience. I had a very similar experience with the Alien RPG. I wanted to do a post Alien 3 story, which would include sort of flavors of Alien 3, like Furina 161 is being basically scrapped. Everything's being sort of sold off and parts and things like that. All these different companies coming in for a piece of the pie now that Weyland-Yutani have like opened it up for public consumption now that they've finished with it. And that Siegson from Alien Isolation, the video game, would come in, and this whole kind of story progression of what would happen after Furina 161 in Alien 3. And then a friend of mine was like, oh, cool, I've seen this module that somebody's published online that you might like, and sent it to me and said, read this and see what you think. And when I tell you, it was Mind Heist word for word.
No.
Every beat of the story was word for word what I'd thought of. I was like, man.
You know what? There's some deep conspiracy level stuff that we can get into there, because I told my... I had a dream once. I went to the Met, the museum here in Manhattan, and I touched a painting, a huge painting. I think it was of Napoleon. I touched the edge of the frame, and I got yelled at by a security guard as a toddler. So I had a dream that night that the figure in the painting, I think Napoleon, jumped out of it and came alive. And then as I was running away from him, all the exhibits in the museum came alive. Cut to 15 years later, and that's the plot of Night at the Museum, right? But I'm like, no, I had it first. And I told it to someone in art class. Like, that's what I feel like is someone's out there like picking up our ideas and our IPs and marketing them well, and
it's
making
the zeitgeist, isn't it? That's the thing.
I'm so careful with who I tell my ideas to now. So JC, that adventure idea we shared at Rolldark Fest, please just keep it to yourself, okay?
I've already mentioned it. Actually, I'm halfway through a deal with Darrington Press. No, I'm kidding.
Just going back to vampires quickly. Have you guys ever read Blind Sight by Peter Watts?
No. Oh God, a friend keeps recommending that to me.
I have.
Ooh, what a book!
Yeah?
What a book! Yeah.
Right?
Spoilers. If you do want to read it, it's not actually no. There's not gonna be that many spoilers. In fact, this is gonna be pretty. Basically, it's high science fiction. So it is like really extreme science fiction. So it's very complicated, and it's about basically the Earth starts getting attacked by this like unknown sort of alien force. So they send a spaceship out into deep space to try and figure out what's going on. But in this world, vampires existed, but they were our predators, and they were destroyed when civilization started, because we started building right angles, and because of how their minds are made in a way that they can't think laterally. So if they see right angles, it gives them a seizure.
It messes with them.
It gives them a seizure. Yeah, it messes
I've
with them.
seen this before.
It's
that
really
seems like
clever.
A really similar concept.
Really clever idea, and like that's why they can't look at crosses, and also like to do with like it's really good. The guy Peter Watts, I believe he's like a what is he? Oh God, it keeps happening.
Novelist.
He's a novelist, but he's also his background is in sea science.
Yeah. I looked it up. PhD from the University of British Columbia, from the Department of Zoology and Resource Ecology. He worked as a marine mammal biologist.
He's a marine biologist. That's it. He's a marine biologist. That's
cool.
the word. Yeah. So it's like really deep science fiction, but it's great. If you've got a good attention span, have a read of it. It's amazing. Yeah, you'll really enjoy it.
That right angle thing sounds really familiar. I feel like I've heard, or at least maybe it was this book and the friend who's been recommending it, but I don't know. I feel like I've seen that somewhere else too.
I like the idea.
Euclidean geometry is just anathema to a certain kind of people or a species or something. Yeah.
I like the idea that they used to be our predator. And that's if a vampire ever looks at you, it's why you're just locked in their gaze. They just have this instant charisma over you because they are your predator and you're their prey, and they're coming for you.
Yeah,
and you're
and you
just
kind
like,
of get that paralytic sort of fear that
yeah,
most
just
prey
fear,
in
just
the
like
world
the
do.
fear, the
Yeah,
fear that you would always get. It's like the the sound down a scrap down a chalkboard if you make it with
yeah,
your nails.
yeah.
That apparent
Jaws.
sound, is a sound that this giant bird used to make when it used to squawk, and that bird used to hunt us.
Ooh,
And we would
terrifying.
hear it. I'll find the giant bird that used to hunt us. I can show you a picture of it. But it's yeah,
Is
that's
that
basically the noise.
is that the big one that is like the size of a giraffe with a
Yeah,
huge beak? I know
yeah,
which one
yeah.
this is.
Horrible thing.
Quetzalcoatlus, I think is the name of it.
No, that was a dinosaur. Well, it was a
Yeah.
pterodactyl-like one. I
Oh,
think
that's true. It wouldn't have been around for the humans. Yeah,
uh, there are a few of them.
Can't find it, but yeah, but basically, it was prehistoric.
right.
It preyed on humans, and it lived in New Zealand, I think,
How
something like that.
cool is
But
that?
it was a big horrible thing. It didn't have wings. It just
Wow.
it was kind of like a dinosaur, but not like a
Right.
dinosaur.
Right, like a
But yeah,
flightless bird.
yeah, but it's
Interesting.
horrible. It's like a giant ostrich type creature, but it
Yeah,
used to
yeah,
like
yeah.
The
rip our
terror bird.
bite us, the terror bird. There you go. Used to
Oh,
rip the back of our necks and like
yeah.
chase us through like high grass or something.
I have heard of this before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's
Okay.
that screech that it makes with its when it's cry was the noise of the screech down a chalkboard. And
That's terrifying.
apparently that's why it still resonates with us today.
You realize that the design of that animal looks a lot like the axe beak from D&D?
Yeah, there you go.
I'd love to do a prehistoric D&D, a very
Yeah.
caveman-esque kind of.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Like Far Cry Primal style D&D. Yeah, that
Yeah,
could be very
yeah.
cool. Yeah, that
Magic
would be
being
cool.
this incredibly kind of wild and untamed thing, and all
Purely
these
nature based, right?
prehistoric beasts, and very tribal bones, and obviously no metal,
Right.
just bones and stone.
Or weapons break after like the third hit, or on certain kinds of hits,
Yeah.
or based on how much damage they do. There's a whole thing. Okay. We could go on forever, but we got to wrap.
Yeah. We do have to wrap. It's an hour and a half. Well, thanks for tuning in,
guys.
everyone. Yeah, good talk. Yeah, thanks for tuning in, and yeah, we will be back. You guys free next week to do recording next week?
Yeah,
absolutely.
On the 19th. 19th. Yeah, cool. Nice one. All right, guys. Well, thanks for tuning in, and you'll hear us next week, I suppose.
Indeed. See you then.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.